All right, here we go. The Doomsdaybells, Lori and Chad Daybell. We're going to be talking about it. Obviously, Chad Daybell's trial. The state has rested. Things have gone dark today out there, so it's a good day to catch up on what has happened and what has gone on in this story, this case, this saga, this incredible tragedy. This is the Tangent Podcast, also known as Vinnie and the Tangents. Say hello, everyone. We've got Al Wunsch with us. Al Wunsch the third. Where are the other two today?
Forest Hills Cemetery.
All right, a moment of silence. Thoughts and prayers, obviously. Jonesey is with us.
Hey.
So here we go. So this. I don't know where to start. I want to start with the first time I came across this story, and at Court TV, one of our producers, Madison, came across this story, and it came out of one of our affiliates in Utah, and then another affiliate in Arizona was covering it. And it took us from the time we first came across this story to when I fully kind of understood what was going on. It took us about 4 months to really peel it back and peel back the layers. And it started as a missing child, and it became so much more and so more tragic. But here we are. Lori convicted. She's waiting for her second trial. That one will be in Arizona regarding what happened to her husband, Charles, her fourth husband, Charles, because she's had a bunch of them. And here's Chad. Chad's trial, much different than Lori's, though, because he doesn't want to be convicted. He understands, I think, much more than she did, everything that's going on in terms of what's real, what's not real, what's fantasy, what's made up. And so he and his attorney are fighting much more strenuously in their case because Chad is facing the ultimate punishment. He doesn't want to go there. And I think he just wants to go home. He just wants to go home.
Well, he's got what, 4 or 5 kids? Doesn't he have five kids?
Adults. Yeah. I think for him, the biggest issue really is the allegations of what he did to his wife, Tammy, his wife of 28 years, Jonesey, 28 years with this woman, raising a family, and she married him before he became this famous prophet and writer when he was
just a gravedigger?
Just a gravedigger, Jonesey.
He was a gravedigger?
He was a gravedigger. In fact, That's one of the defenses that they're using, is the fact that the 2 children's bodies were found on his property, okay, in a shallow grave. And that's the gravedigger defense. They know how deep you got to go.
Right. He never, and I think one of his children actually said, I think they were interviewed maybe 48 Hours or one of those programs. I don't know which one. I think it was 48 Hours. And his son said, or his son or daughter?
His daughter. It was his daughter that said that he knows how to bury a body.
Right. Yeah. He never, if he
That's
dug
a hell of a defense. That's, if I had buried them, I would have done it right.
Right. Exactly. Right. He would have had, it would have been 10 feet. They would have been down there. There wouldn't have been, shallow grave. You wouldn't have found them, basically, is what the daughter's saying. Exactly. And it wouldn't have been on his property, which is, they're saying that he was set up by his bride's brother, okay, that they set him up as the fall guy on this. And it's an interesting argument because she really did take off with regards to this cult aspect of it, and was a lot more prominent than he was. And maybe she saw that he's going to get away.
She was more all in on the cult than he was as the leader.
I do, because if you take a look, a lot of the people that were brought in by her. Okay, they all seem to be family, friends, or whatever with her, as opposed to him.
Well, there's also been whispers that he made a play for another one of the followers before Lori came into the picture. So, this is my take on Chad Daybell, right? Simple guy, simple life. Married, it's a good, wholesome, simple life. But then starts publishing these books and starts going to these prepper conventions and starts feeling a little bit of the celebrity. You know what it's like, Jonesy, when you start feeling that celebrity for the first time.
Oh, sure, man. It's a rush. But what is a prepper convention?
Oh, these are people who are preparing for the end of time.
Oh. Were they wearing Nike sneakers?
No, that's another cult.
No, but he was getting some notoriety and a little bit of attention from some of the fellow preppers, the female preppers. And I think, and then once the blue-eyed, blonde-haired Lori Vallow showed up at one of these conventions and started paying attention to him, all bets were off. And he had to do and say whatever he could in order to reel her in. And it didn't take much.
I like your physical moves when you're impersonating like a sexy blonde, blue-eyed chick.
Well, that's how they would kind of walk into the room, I think. Hey there, big boy. Glad
to see God tonight.
But anyhow, so what I wanted to do, because where is it? I have it somewhere here. So to me, and by the way, Melly and Gen X and Frankie Figs all here. Thank you, Melly. Melly says hello, fellas. Melly says hello, fellas. Happy Friday.
Hello, Melly.
Come up and see me sometime.
Come up and see me sometime, big boy. Here we go. So this image for me just speaks volumes about the case, because his whole spiel originally was that Rexburg, Idaho was the center of where the end times and the second coming. It was all about Rexburg, Idaho. This was the place where it was all going to happen, right? Then once the police start interviewing people and asking questions, suddenly it was no longer the place to be for the second coming of our Savior. He went to Hawaii with Lori and her bikini.
Okay. All right. Makes sense.
And then all of a sudden, hanging out poolside in Hawaii was the place to be. That's where he loses credibility for me as being a so-called prophet.
I would like to cite Coco the Talking Ape. Are you gentlemen familiar?
Is that Planet of the Apes?
No, Coco is a real ape. His handler speaks to Coco in sign language and has a huge following, and was actually on a TV interview where she was talking to Coco with sign language, and Coco told her he wanted to move to Hawaii.
Get your paws off me, you damn dirty ape.
Coco told her on TV that he wanted to move to Hawaii. So she told Coco's followers to send them money so that Coco can move to Hawaii. Now, of course, she had to move to Hawaii with Coco. This is a true story. So, I mean, Hawaii seems to be a destination where, people want to.
Did they make it? Did they make it to Hawaii?
Yeah, I believe they did. A huge following, Coco the Talking Ape.
Unbelievable. So, for Lori and Chad, like Lori always loved going to Hawaii, even prior to meeting Chad and all of that. Hawaii was like her go-to spot, so she was very familiar and she loved it down there. And for obvious reasons, Hawaii it's paradise. It's absolute paradise. By the way, Cheryl Brown loves Coco.
Cool. Yeah, everybody loved Coco, but the thing is, Coco's handler obviously was the one who wanted to go to Hawaii, and was just looking for a free trip.
What are you saying? That monkeys don't want to go to Hawaii?
Well, Coco would probably be happy in Hawaii, but it's just
got bananas there and stuff like that. That's a exciting type of.
I've taken to eating my bananas upside down like apes. I've always peeled them from the stem, but now I peel them from the other end. And now that I've started doing it, it's blasphemous, but I can't stop myself.
It's not blasphemous. It's the correct way, because you don't damage the banana.
Plus, you get rid of that nut at the bottom.
Yeah, but when you turn it upside down and peel it, the top of the inside, the meat of the banana stays pristine. When you're with the stem, you're always doing like this, and you always bruise the top.
Plus, you can use the stem as a handle.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, if we evolved from monkeys, why are there still monkeys?
Well,
Cat Williams. I just saw a Cat Williams thing came across. I don't know. I was trying to figure that out. Anyhow, so what I want to do is play for folks. I have some clips here to play today, and I've got several of them, but I want to play this first one, which is this jailhouse call. So as we know in this story, Lori is arrested first, and she's not arrested for she's arrested for a child endangerment because there was an order for her to produce her children by the court because there was a welfare check and no one knew where the children were. And she was unable to do so. So then she was locked up. So this is a phone call between Chad and Lori when Chad is still free. They have not found JJ and Tylee buried in his backyard yet. It's one day before that, actually. But I want you to take a listen to this phone call, and then we can talk about that. Let's take a listen here. Wait for it. Wait for it.
The number you have dialed has been disconnected.
Wait for it. We're just moments away from this call. I promise.
I asked him what we talked about. He's very optimistic.
It was very optimistic for you, or he's very optimistic it could happen?
He's very optimistic. For both of us.
He doesn't know his own project timeline.
He said stick with it. Show what he projected in that paper he wrote.
House renovations always take longer than they think.
That's the problem.
I've been watching that Extreme Pools, and the people are like 3 months out. Like when they estimated they'd have it done, and they're like, we had so many problems, we couldn't get to the backyard. We had to pull a crane over the house to get these huge rocks for the waterfall.
I can remember last summer, Taylor Hill, Mark's friend, parents moved into a trailer, like a camping trailer, in their driveway because they were going to build their house by the end of the year. Guess where they're still at?
Really?
They sold their house to their son. It's just a weird situation, but you're exactly right. Yeah, it takes forever.
Yeah, there's always something comes up. Well, we didn't know when we dug in your backyard we were going to find whatever. And then they're like, we have to redo all the piping, and then we had trouble with this, and then something else happened. So, but they try to make it sound like it wasn't really that long, but it's always like, it's going to take 3 months. And then 3 months after that, they're like, okay, it took 6 months. You couldn't come in your backyard at all. And now it's not summer anymore. Now it's winter, and your pool is finally done.
Right.
Mostly they do it in Florida and places like that. So he's optimistic about his construction problem, or construction
problems.
not problems, but plan.
Yeah.
Construction plan. The blueprints are still intact.
It was good. It was good to talk. I hadn't texted him in a while. So.
So he would still answer all my questions in the same way, you think, if I texted him?
I think you ought to write down some questions for him and maybe even mail them off and see what happens. See if he'll respond to you.
Remind him when you do text him back that at the beginning of this project, he said there was only like a 3% chance that there would be trouble from certain aspects. And then there's like 100% trouble because that's where it all started. So find out about that.
Right.
See what he has to say for himself on that. It's a combination of only, 5 problems.
I agree.
That was a big one.
It was a big one.
So far listening to this, and it's hard to understand. They're speaking in some level of code, but the project to me is the project is clearing out all the people that are in the way of them being together.
The dark people.
Yeah. And he's 3% chance of trouble. Now she's locked up, so that percentage has obviously gone way up. But think about the lighthearted nature of this, knowing what's in his backyard, knowing what has happened to Tammy, what has happened to Charles. They are, it's unreal. The level of, they just don't care.
But even this phone call, it sort of bolsters my contention that she has really taken over. Okay, she's really the one that is dictating how this is going to go, what needs to be done, the story that needs to be sold. Okay, and he and that kind of stuff. And it does seem to me that like she is the one orchestrating this. I mean, it's. I saw the interview with Chad's children, and my heart went out for them because, like they said, listen, my dad was a decent guy, was this, that, the other thing, hardworking, and then he meets her, and then everything goes downhill. I mean, she's got 2 kids missing now. If I'm not mistaken, the boy was not her child. I mean, they adopted the child or something like that.
What happened was with little JJ was born to 2 parents who had addiction issues. So the grandma and grandpa took JJ in, and now the grandma's brother married Lori, and the grandma's brother's a little bit younger. That's Charles Vallow, and they thought it would be best for Charles and Lori to raise JJ. And everything that she said, because I've interviewed her a bunch of times, is that she was a great mom, that they were so happy that she was the one that was going to be raising JJ. And she was very loving and caring because he had some special needs. So you needed a little, extra patience and time and care. And Larry and Kay felt like Lori was doing it, and she was stepping up big time. Then something happened, and everything changed, and that's the tragedy, right? If they wanted the children out of the way, Larry and Kay Woodcock would have taken the children in a heartbeat. Other family members would have taken these kids in a heartbeat. They didn't have to do it this way. But I think that's where the money gets involved in the whole thing.
Well,
but Jonesey,
doesn't that also ruin their image, as people of God and leaders of their community, if they should give up their children?
Yeah, but not quite as much as getting arrested.
Yeah, getting arrested is probably the bigger of the two.
But I think at this point, they literally don't think that they're going to get caught still. At this moment, now, this is one day before the FBI raids the home and goes in the backyard, and I think one of the reasons they go to the backyard is because of this conversation, because they're talking about building a pool and doing this renovation project to cover up the crime.
Well, just as they know a jailhouse call is being recorded, the people who are listening also know that they know that, so they're gonna, there's code somewhere in there.
I know that you know that I know that you know that I know that you know.
You're a blabbermouth.
But I just don't know how that break happens. Like, so Idaho doesn't have the traditional insanity defense, which is.
I saw you say that last night, and that kind of surprised me.
Yeah, where you don't know the difference between right and wrong, right? So if you don't know the difference between right and wrong, you don't appreciate the wrongfulness of your actions. Like, and I've seen cases with mothers accused in cases where their children are gone, right? And they've been found not guilty by reason of insanity because they believed everything that they were doing to their children was saving them, and the illness was real. I almost feel sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes that Lori is legitimately all in on this, while Chad, because he's the so-called prophet who, you know, has these things, is using it and knows he can manipulate people who are all in. That's why I have a hard time figuring out the back and forth between these two, because Chad is the one who has the pipeline, right, to God. And he's the one that gets all the signs and the plans, and he tells you who's dark and who's not dark. And he just uses that, right? I mean, because that's not real. He's not a real prophet. He predicted the end times were going to be in the summer of 2020. He was almost right. COVID almost took us all out, but it didn't.
But, you know, you've got a scenario where, like, they've bastardized the Church of Latter-day Saints, and they've taken it, and it gives them a justification for eliminating people that they think they're actually giving them a chance for, you know, spiritual life, because of the fact that on earth they have been so polluted and they're zombies, and that by killing them they're actually giving them the opportunity to get their light back. I mean, this is just disturbed as hell. And,
now,
I'm sorry.
I want to read this comment from Aaron Wilcuts. It was a perfect storm of tragedy. And I think Aaron knows what he's talking about. So Chad wrote this story about him and Lori.
Yeah.
And they
James
had
and Elena, right? That's
yes. And they had a nickname for Chad's manliness part. It was known as the Storm.
We're expecting showers today.
Like hail it is.
Exactly. I feel like when I cover this story, I have to do a weather report.
But I mean, you know, look, this whole cult aspect of it is what is fascinating. And, you know, and I was looking up these things about what constitutes a cult. Okay. And according to the FBI, cults are, and this is like, you know, how we use all these new phrases, a new religious movement. Okay. Because they don't want to have a scenario where they use the word cult, because that can have the connotations of being something negative. They describe cults as a system or groups of people who have excessive devotion to a belief system, object, or figure. Other characteristics of cults include a leader who preaches an ideology or belief system that followers unquestionably follow, unethical or illegal operations that use mind control, coercion, and other manipulative techniques, vertical organization with only the leader and a few advisors knowing the group's finances and activities, and that members are typically isolated from the outside world. So that's how the FBI defines what a cult would be, or as they call it, a new religious movement. And, you know, the United States has had several notorious cults in American history. First and foremost being the People's Temple, which, you know, goes back to Jim Jones. And the interesting thing about that is prior to 9/11, the loss of over 900 people, 900 innocent individuals at the People's Temple, was the largest American civilian loss in history up until the 9/11 attacks. And this was a guy who started out with good intentions. At least it looked like it was good intentions. And then all of a sudden, it bastardized the process. And next thing you know, he's in, Guyana, putting together this community. And he has isolated all these people. He has kept them there. And then, you know, the United States sends a congressman from the district in where a lot of these people's families were, and he goes down there and investigates it. Jim Jones turns around and says, look, this is going to be the end of our heaven because of this. And they kill him. And then he orchestrates a drink festival where he puts cyanide in Flavor Aid. It's not Kool-Aid, actually.
It wasn't Kool-Aid?
It
No.
wasn't Kool-Aid?
It was not Kool-Aid.
You buried the lead.
Kool-Aid?
It was Flavor Aid. Flavor Aid was because it's cheaper. They didn't have the
like 19 cents. You buy a little packet, 19 cents. You get a whole half gallon, feed the entire family.
And Flavor Aid was 12 cents. So you saved yourself
money for. What are you saving your money for if you're going to kill yourself?
Well, first of all, the thing is that he was saving the money for himself because he was the one that everyone was turning over their fortunes to him. So he was collecting everything.
Drink the Flavor Aid?
And he was giving the cheap stuff to the people. I'm sure he was drinking Kool-Aid, but he actually shot himself in the head. But he didn't drink the Kool-Aid or the
that incident became a phrase too, like to drink the Kool-Aid is
right.
Is to,
we have to change it. Let's start
anything you're told.
Let's do a change.org movement to change it to don't drink the Kool-Aid because drink the Flavor Aid.
That's why we're here. Okay, Vin, to set the record straight on these things. Okay, it was not Kool-Aid; it was Flavor Aid.
Did you ever make ice pops out of your Kool-Aid? What you would do is you'd put it in the ice cube tray, put saran wrap over it, and a toothpick in it. Then you'd put it in the freezer so it would freeze, and you'd have a little ice pop. No,
and
I never made Kool-Aid because when you buy the little packet, you had to add your own sugar to it. I was like, I just want to take whatever's in the packet and add water.
No, they had the ones that had sugar in it also.
Did they?
Yes, they did.
All right. Well, that's all before I was stricken with diabetes. So,
okay. So,
that's
a valuable lesson, everyone, because you're probably putting too much sugar in your Kool-Aid.
What's your favorite flavors? Purple or red or orange? My favorite flavor is purple.
Well, the orange was like Tang. I mean, I'd rather have Tang than Kool-Aid.
Did Tang really come from the astronauts, Al?
Yes, it did. Well, it was developed because of that. It was developed because we brought everything freeze-dried. You ever go in freeze-dried ice cream and all that other kind of stuff? It's all stuff that was developed for NASA so that the astronauts could have something up there. Freeze-dried.
So they could have it while they're at the movie set with Stanley Kubrick?
Oh, did he direct the
he was the director of the film.
Now I will tell you this, that I have met all 12 moonwalkers and they have verified that they were on the moon. They were not at a movie.
Wait, did you meet the 13th Michael Jackson?
I did not meet Michael Jackson. I saw Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5 at concert. Okay. But I did not meet him.
All right. So what I want to do right now is go back to we'll listen to a little bit more of the call.
Uh-huh.
Oh. My faith in those kinds of guarantees are lower.
Me too.
And beggars can't be choosers. I get that, but you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like I get to pick the colors of everything that I want. He's just going to have to figure it out.
Right.
Since I'm here and I can't be in charge of the project.
He's not gonna drop us for another project.
Well, can't he forcibly use a hand, punch some people in the face and get some things done? Some people in particular, like the 3%er person?
I don't think he wants to be violent, but things are going to work out. Not just because he says so, but because I know so. Yeah. It's a marvelous plan.
How do you know so?
How do I know? It's been shown to me, honey. I've seen those beautiful eyes filled with tears as she sings to amazing groups of people. And I've seen that wonderful body dance to heavenly songs. Your purpose is only beginning. It's hardly begun. And it will be the pair. It won't be solo. And it's going to be incredible. You're tremendous, my love. I know that is a fact.
What do you think of this? The way he's speaking? Does he? I mean, it's not charisma, but there's something like putting people in a trance. The way he talks here.
Yeah, he does have that methodical way of speaking. But let me tell you something. Between the giggling and like the breathing and stuff like that, I like the hairs on the back of my neck are standing up. This is the most creepiest of individuals. I mean, you know, it is her. First of all, you think of the crime that they're involved with, okay, and then you hear them like giggling and things along those lines. It's incensing. It's just absolutely incensing. They're disgusting people, absolutely disgusting. Neither one of them should see the light of day ever again. And you know, I did say that I was sympathetic with the kids because I always feel bad. You know, there's 5 kids that he has that didn't do anything wrong. Okay, they're not involved in this or anything like that, and they've lost their mom, and now they're going to lose their dad. And I feel badly for them because they don't see their father in that light. But if I was one of the kids and I heard that phone conversation, and forget it. I don't know if I could ever look at him the same again. And then, you know, like the so-called, you know, religious aspect of it, the cult that this guy is involved with regards to people that are zombies and the darkness and the light and all that kind of stuff. You know, and that, you know, James and Elena are the new, you know, saviors of the world. It's just frightening to me. And it's even more frightening that there are people following these 2 idiots.
Here's what Michelle is saying. Michelle L. Thank you, Michelle. I'm not buying the idea that Chad Daybell was all innocent and corrupted by Lori. These conversations show that Chad was willing to say anything she wanted to hear. And that I agree, because what he is smitten. He is absolutely smitten by her, but he comes back and uses his knowledge of religion to twist it in a way and always brings it back to that, and then takes someone like Lori and elevates her, right? So she's a soul who is lost, who is looking to get the attention and be important. And he says, oh yeah, you are important. You know, we've had these lives together before, and now you know, we are going to lead the 144,000, you and I together. And that's what I see. That's what I've been told. And he uses that. And it's no different than any of these other cult leaders. They always use whatever they're doing to get chicks, period. That should be the definition of a cult.
It's a good way to score.
Well, it always ends up that way.
It does end up that way. But you know what? What's interesting, and that's why I brought up the People's Temple. The People's Temple initially was an effort to find housing for senior citizens, was giving to, believe it or not, when he started out and he was in San Francisco, they were building homes for the homeless and for senior citizens so that they could live a better life. He was courted by all the politicians in the area because he had a lot of power and he had a base that was willing to vote Democratic, okay, in the elections out there. And it looked like it was an interesting socialistic type organization. But then all of a sudden, he started getting into drugs. He started getting into some things along those lines. And as soon as they start saying they're the Messiah, you know, that's when things go out of control. And you see this time and time again. That the one that was just recently done, what begins with an M, the Nuverum or whatever. I mean, the guy comes up with this math equation, and next thing you know, he's scoring with all these hot-looking women. Okay, because this is what is supposed to happen.
Every cult happens in every cult.
Manson, another thing, exactly right, same exact thing. The only one that I don't think had that, that scoring potential and anything along those lines was the one that Jonesey had brought up before, where they were wearing the sneakers and looking to go into space.
The comet was going to come and get them.
Yeah, that one. That. I'm sorry.
Space Jam.
No, Heaven's Gate.
Oh, Heaven's Gate. Yeah. Heaven's Gate.
Yeah, Heaven's Gate didn't strike me as the one that was like, the guy was like interested in scoring at anything whatsoever.
Wasn't there only? He didn't have a lot of numbers, did he? Didn't he only have like 9 people or something like that?
There you go.
Okay.
By the way, Danielle, it's Chad's fault they lost both their parents, unfortunately. Yeah,
I agree. Look, I am not defending Chad by any stretch of the imagination. He deserves whatever he gets because he was involved in this. But it's just weird to me that in the light of all these circumstances, that they would bury the bodies on his property, of all places.
Well,
Like,
he had a
why
nice.
there?
He had a large piece of land that.
A large piece of land, but it was right near the house. Like it's not, that type of. If you're going to do a large piece of land, okay, you're not going to put it too close to the house. You're going to put it in the larger part, out, away from the entire area, and then bury them in a shallow grave. It's
the
original
plan with Tylee, because her remains were charred.
Right.
They thought they could burn and it would just go away. They didn't realize at such a high temperature you have to be at to reduce someone to ashes, and then they gave up and then put her in the pet cemetery. Patty today, then Jim Jones started pulling out raw chicken livers, saying he pulled cancer out of people, and they believed him.
Yeah, he did go into a situation where he was pretending to be a healer and would be doing things along those lines. It was a charlatan. Okay, he went from doing something that was halfway decent with regards to the housing and making contributions.
Chicken liver? Can you eat chicken liver? Chicken liver, do people eat that?
Yes, I love chicken livers.
Well, didn't Andy Kaufman?
Big Italian, Vinnie. That's a very big Italian dish. Spaghetti with chicken livers is an Italian.
That's horrible.
It's an Italian dish.
Yeah.
But Jonesy,
Fonzie couldn't eat it. Fonzie couldn't eat liver. Was that what he couldn't eat?
That's right. He couldn't eat liver. That's correct. But Jonesy,
you don't remember that episode where Fonzie?
I don't.
Almost as bad as when I was wrong.
Wrong. I was
no, but he couldn't eat chicken liver. You didn't know about that?
I think it was calf liver.
Oh, calf liver. Okay, it wasn't a chicken liver.
Heaven's Gate, liver. 40 people, Jonesy. 40 people killed themselves in Heaven's Gate.
It was 40?
Yeah.
It's still not the kind of numbers that Jim Jones and guys like that.
Jim Jones had 910 that killed themselves as a result.
Another thing about these leaders and the women that either come on to them or become like their other half is the power. I mean, this guy speaks to God. It's like, that's better than a lead singer of a rock and roll band. You have, if he can speak to God, then you're like, one click away from being able to talk to the man.
Monica loves livers and gizzards.
Oh, I hate that. My mommy used to feed me liverwurst sandwiches when I was a kid. Horrible.
Yeah, not a fan of liverwurst or olive loaf. Another thing my mother would give me.
Oh, olive loaf.
Oh,
my
I don't like any meat where there's something floating in it. That just turns me off completely. Just give me meat. I don't need to have anything floating in it. I don't even like Jello with fruit in it. I don't like anything floating. I don't like anything that is in like some sort of state where it's floating. Okay, I'm not eating that.
So you described the FBI description of a cult negates this next thought of mine, because it wasn't a religious group, but they were accused by some of being a cult. And in the 80s, it was a very popular thing, the Earhart sensitivity training, EST it was called. Werner Earhart was the man. He had created this program, and it swept the nation. And the leader of our group, the guys that we hung out with, who I later usurped and became the leader of the gang, got into it. And suddenly, like, all of the friends around me were taking the EST training. It was a sensitivity training that taught you how to live better lives and stuff like that. Now, a girlfriend at the time invited me to her graduation. And to appease her, I went to the graduation in a New York City ballroom to watch her graduate from this program. They locked us in a room by ourselves, not with the girlfriend was taken to another room. They locked us in the room. They wouldn't let us use the bathroom. They wouldn't let us leave for 4 hours while they leaned on us to try to join this cult that I refer to it as. These groups prey upon the weak, people looking for a better answer. This happened to me numerous times, and dozens of my friends went into this program, and some never came out. Some did go off and live with them in a commune. Wow. They didn't have communes in the EST group, but they had offshoots where you would go for an additional training, and they took all of your money. And, you know, they preyed upon the weak. I had an argument with my family one night. I was invited to my friend's house for a get-together. I slammed the door on my family. I leave the house. I go to my friend's place. I'm surrounded by these people who are telling me about a better life and a better way of being. And the one giving the seminar is sexy, and she's like coming on to us. And you know, and I ended up that night. You know, I had every excuse in the world, but they wouldn't take an excuse. At the end of that night, I ended up signing on.
And then did you end up selling Amway?
Not quite. The next morning, I called my friend who invited me to the party, and I said, "Look, you're eating this," you know, because he said he would lend me the money. I didn't have it. "You're eating this. I'm not doing this. This is, you know," and I'm out. And I was like the only one in my group of friends who didn't succumb to this. Now, you know, many of them went on to live normal lives, but some of them were still in it.
And then the next week, Jonesey was at the airport with a tambourine.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
The shaven head.
You don't see Hare Krishnas anymore. You don't see them at the airport anymore.
Well, they're not allowed at the airport. You see them. You see them in the East. You saw them in the East Village for quite a while. They had a little place there where they would invite people to a free lunch.
Well, you know, it's funny that you see the Mormons now more out recruiting than any other religion. I mean, you know, you go in Times Square, you get approached by people all the time that are Mormons that are trying to get you to come see their church and things along those lines. They start talking to you. But let's go back to some famous American cults. Let's go to the Branch Davidians, okay, which is right up Vinnie's alley, because you had an individual in that, David Koresh, who believed that he was the Messiah and that any of his offspring would be holy. So he fathered at least 13 kids. All right. So that ought to tell you, Vin, right up your alley with regards to this. Weren't
the women prohibited from engaging in sexual acts with their spouses and only with their spouse?
That's right. Only with him.
Only with me.
And in the people's temple, okay, you were told when you could have sex. And then, you know, of course, if they were lucky, Jim Jones would have sex with the women. But my understanding is that Jim Jones would also have sex with the men. So he
would.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Paula says, I think they buried the poor babies at his property because he believed in his own BS, and they thought they were so clever with all the planning. That's a great question, and thank you, Paula. Do you think he believed his own stuff, or do you think he was using it?
Ooh, no, I think he believes it.
You think he believed it?
Well, the thing is this, you know, you get to it's like you believe your own press releases. Okay. You get to the point where, you know,
Remember, Jerry, it's not a lie if you believe it.
That's exactly right. It's the Costanza defense. It's not a lie if you believe it. Okay. And under those circumstances, I think he does believe it because look, things are going well for him. He's got the hot blonde. He's got followers now. He's got these horrendous books that are going out there with James and Elena.
It's more of a pamphlet.
Here's a ditty about James and Elena.
We've got a correction from Lisa Bacamores, Al. Amway is a multi-level marketing company.
It's also a cult. Trust me. You know, I mean, they bring you in on the product type situation, and they get you selling, and then you're selling you've got to be doing, get people to be selling the Amway also. It's a cult. It's a cult.
All right. We've got a musical question for Jonesey. Musical question for Jonesey.
Yeah.
We got to get to this. Matt Burton says David Koresh played guitar. He rocked. Was he a better musician than Charles Manson?
Well, I know Matt Burton, actually. Hi, Matt. Glad to see that you're watching. I don't know anything about maybe Matt could explain a little bit more. I don't know anything about David Koresh playing guitar, but is that not unusual with religious leaders? You know, music is a part of it. Like they get together and and feel the vibrations of God and the rejoice in the music
and sing Kumbaya.
When you sing, you pray twice, is what we are taught in the Christian religion.
Did you guys ever see The Apostle?
You pray twice. I'm sorry?
Did you ever see The Apostle with Robert Duvall and Farrah Fawcett? Great movie. He's not really a cult leader, but he has like a church, Robert Duvall, that's doing very well, and it's his church. And Farrah Fawcett is his younger love interest, and she becomes a more important member of the church than he was, and she eventually usurps his power.
That's what I'm arguing. That's what I'm arguing about Lori Daybell.
Well, this was fiction, but it was a really good movie.
I know, but what I'm saying is that that's what I see in this situation.
Who has better hair, Lori or Farrah Fawcett?
Farrah Fawcett.
Farrah Fawcett.
I don't know. Lori does a pretty good job for someone who's in the pokey.
Well, wait a minute. I want to tackle, because I don't know, for some reason Jonesy didn't bring this up. Charles Manson had a song recorded by the Beach Boys, so he has to take the the mantle of being the better musician than David Koresh.
All right. Well, maybe we'll have a battle of the bands. By the way, so this is what I want to do. I want to play this clip because this is a legendary clip now of Lori at her sentencing. Okay. This is Lori at her sentencing, and we'll listen, and then we'll try to better understand who's the leader and who's, out to lunch here.
I'd like to start by quoting John from the New Testament in the Bible. In John chapter 8, verse 7, Jesus says, "He that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her." Then in verse 15, Jesus says, "Ye judge after the flesh. I judge no man. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true." Jesus knows me, and Jesus understands me. I mourn with all of you who mourn, my children and Tammy. Jesus Christ knows the truth of what happened here. Jesus Christ knows that no one was murdered in this case. Accidental deaths happen. Suicides happen. Fatal side effects from medications happen. I have a different perspective in life because in 2002, when I was pregnant with Tylee, I died in the hospital while in labor with her. They tried to stop my labor. They put me on the table and they put something in my IV, and I felt my spirit falling to the floor. I was standing near my pregnant body, watching the doctors try to revive me, which took them a few minutes. In that time, my sister Stacy was standing to my left. I turned to hug her and was surprised that her spirit was as tangible as a physical body. because I knew I was in spirit and she was in spirit. She said she needed to show me some things, and we went to heaven. I later returned to my body. Because of this experience, I have access to heaven and the spirit world. Since then, I have had many communications from people now living in heaven, including my children, Tylee Ashlyn and Joshua Jackson, my sisters, Stacy and Lolly, my aunts and my uncles, and my grandparents. I have had many communications with Jesus Christ, the Savior of this world, and our heavenly parents. I have had many angelic visitors have come and communicated with me and even manifested themselves to me. Because of these communications, I know for a fact that my children are happy and busy in the spirit world. Because of my communications with my friend Tammy Daybell, I know that she is also very happy and extremely busy. I have always mourned the loss of my loved ones, and I have lost many in this mortal world. However, I know them more than most people. I know where they are now and what they're doing. I know how wonderful heaven is, and I'm homesick for it every single day. I know we all lived in heaven before we were born on earth, and we were all adult spirits in the heavenly realm. We chose to come to earth as mortals. Heaven is more wonderful than you can possibly imagine.
Wow. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen out there. If you're ever in a sentencing, don't use that speech by any stretch of the imagination. That is just absolutely frightening. Absolutely frightening. To say that your victims are happier in heaven than they were in the world for children, 2 young children that were brutally executed. Okay. And that just, she is just disgusting.
Does she sound like the mastermind to you, Jonesy?
I can't tell from that. I really can't say. Yeah, I'm at a loss. I don't know who the mastermind in this particular situation is. As far as earlier when he was speaking on the Jailhouse phone conversation, you heard a different thing than I heard. You guys were talking about how he seemed large and in charge, but to me, I heard trepidation in the pattern of his voice, as though he were he wasn't believing his own hype and knew he was going to go down.
I don't know. I mean, look, these are just 2 very disturbed individuals, and for them to destroy a religion and create this false cult where he's a god, she's a god, and everything along those lines is just disgusting. And I don't know how people can follow anyone who authorizes murder by any stretch of the imagination, because they're dark. They talk about these zombies that are people who have the darkness in them, and that this darkness prohibits light being in, and then being murdered, dying. Okay, they open up and they get the light in, and so they're saved. It's just horrific. And yeah, I do think, though, listening to her, although I'm also reminded of a famous joke that I heard once in the Catskills with regards to the fact that Jesus was there at a stoning and said, "Let he with no sin cast the first stone," at which point the crowd opened up, a woman came running up, took a stone and threw the stone and hit the person in the head. And Jesus said, "Mom," like that.
Was that Shecky Green?
That was actually Charlie Callis that came up with that one.
I saw Charlie Callis on the Buzzer channel last week. I tried to hip you to it, but you don't have the channel.
I don't have that channel. I don't. I have MeTV and I have the whatchamacallit GameStone Network. That's the only two channels.
Buzzer is where it's at. Hey, I just had an epiphany. I think I look like a cult. I'm dressing like a cult leader here. And look, if you look at my set behind me, it looks like two crosses on each side.
And with the police stand up.
You have a cult-like following, don't you, Jonesy? Through all these years on the radio,
it basically means small and loyal. Unfortunately,
to have her, invoking the name of Jesus as an excuse for killing her children is it is blasphemy, and it is absolutely disgusting. Absolutely.
Check this comment out. They are both clowns. That's the first time somebody wrote something like that on this program, and they weren't referring to Al and I.
The guests.
When I saw that comment, I was like, oh, okay. They're talking about Chad and Lori.
At first, I thought it was for us.
Yeah. All right, so
but we're not sure it isn't.
True.
Keep that in mind, Jonesy.
True.
Yeah, a match made not in heaven but somewhere else, says Danielle. Thank you, Danielle.
HE double toothpicks.
Exactly.
Hockey sticks.
So take a listen here. Now, this is the moment. It's another Jailhouse call. Chad is still not arrested. Lori's arrested for not for because they haven't found the children yet. This is the day. Chad is home. Lori's locked up for negligence relative to her children. And then the FBI and the local police are all digging up the backyard. Here's the phone call.
Hi, Dad.
Hello.
Are you okay?
So there's the property.
The house right now?
Yeah. So Mark Means will be talking to you.
Okay.
Mark Means is their lawyer.
Why are they in the house?
No, the property.
Are they seizing stuff again?
They're searching. There's a search warrant, and so we're gonna get on this with the kids.
Okay.
I wonder if he's in the bathroom while he's calling her with that echo.
Yeah. So you tried to set up a call. Glad you called.
Yeah.
So we'll see what transpires.
To me,
Wow.
at this point, right, they're talking about this, like, to me, they know what's in the backyard. This is evidence that they absolutely know what's in the back. Both of them know.
I don't think there's any doubt that both of them know. I mean, there's no, once again, I go back to, I felt bad for his kids, okay, because, they don't see their father in this light, but there's no doubt the evidence that we've been doing it. And, Vinnie, you and I have been covering this story for quite some time on Court TV. And, it is overwhelming, I think, the evidence that they have in this. The only defense, as I said before, is the fact that, he was a grave digger and that he would have buried them deeper.
He would have done a better job.
And that it was it was a setup orchestrated by Lori's conveniently dead brother, okay, who also conveniently got rid of her husband, who in 2020 was telling the police that she was trying to kill him because she believed that he has been possessed by another soul or something like that. I mean, so these are just absolute. The sooner they're both away from civilization, the better we're all going to be.
Yeah, Peaches and Cream reminding me that he was sitting in his car because they were in the house. He couldn't be in the house. He's in the car, but they have eyes on him because they don't want him to flee. And he actually did start to drive away, and they had to follow him. And then they ended up arresting him, not at the house, but away from the house. And there was someone who happened to be driving by that got some video of the arrest.
In that phone conversation, while they don't say anything incriminating, it just speaks volumes. Like he's so upset that that's the property. It's clear. I mean, I can't say that it's clear because I'm inferring it.
But to me, it is clear because the last phone call, Jonesy, the last phone call we just listened to was one day before. Completely different tone.
Right.
Very jolly, laughing, ha 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 ha, whatever. Let's listen to a little more.
Okay. What do you do? Pray. What do you want me to do? Okay. What can I do for you?
By the way, she used to send him dance videos while they were both married.
Nice.
She had in her home, because she was still married, but she was sort of like separated. It was strange, the status of the relationship. But the house that she had like this one room in the front, which was her dance room. It had like mirrors on the wall.
Ooh.
That was Lori's dance room, because she was a contestant. I don't know if it was 2006 or 2004 for Mrs. Texas.
Really?
Well, there was, if I'm not mistaken, I remember that her in 2020, her husband, Charles Vallow, had called the police, and he told the police that she says, "I'm Nick Schneider. I've taken over Charles's body, and Charles has been killed, and I'm going to kill you. You're going to be murdered today or tomorrow. I can do it with my priesthood powers." That's what he said. She told him, and he told that to the police. Okay, so
Wait, we got breaking news here from Charlotte. I may have to make this one a little bit bigger for you guys. Let's put you guys over here. All right. Thank you, Granny X. I was a little worried I might get blocked. Thanks for allowing me to get my little schoolgirl crush on Vinnie out in the open.
What did she say?
I can't find the original message. I don't know.
It was blocked.
Salacious.
Very salacious.
Your shirt matches your eyes, Vinnie.
Oh, thanks for noticing.
And your purse matches your shoes.
There you go. And Gen X, of course, no, you'd never get blocked for flirting with the boys. Bring it.
Yes. At which point, shout out to Jennifer Supe. Hey, Jennifer. So, always looking out for me. But, this is just, this cult situation is just bizarre. I mean, for her to make that kind of a comment, I could do it with my priesthood powers. And to make that statement at her sentencing, that basically, the opposite of what Geraldine used to say, where the devil made me do it.
Right.
It's that God made me do it because I had the opportunity to send them to God, and that they went there willingly, okay, and happily, is just profane, absolutely profane.
I like this from Edie. Now she dances with her mop as a dormitory janitor or her bunkies.
So if he should go to prison, does he become a pariah because of the nature of the crimes, or does he become a leader, the leader of the gang, because he can take them to a higher level, a higher plane? He can speak to God on their behalf.
That's interesting. How would that play?
Well, I remember there was a television series on HBO called Oz.
Oh,
yes.
Yes.
And there was a spiritual leader.
Yes.
Okay. That was in there, who I believe was
the dude from Beverly Hills
90210, right?
Yeah.
Beverly Hills 90210.
Perry.
Yes, Matthew Perry. Okay,
no,
not Matthew Perry. Luke Perry, right? Luke Perry.
Dylan was in Oz.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. He played a wayward evangelist.
Yes.
And there was also a priest in there, okay, and the priest was dealt with abusing children, and if I'm not mistaken, they crucified him in the gymnasium.
What they did to him is they recreated a scene from Dark Shadows. I think the director was probably a fan of the cult TV show. They did this to a reverend in Dark Shadows. What they did is they bricked him into a wall. Spoiler alert, it's a 20-year-old series. They bricked him behind the wall, but there was an explosion and he escaped. So they didn't know if he was a ghost or if he was still alive. So they put him back in the wall and they bricked him in the wall again when they were doing construction on the prison.
Wow. Paula says, I think she's remembering what Storm told her. But seriously, they were seriously, they were toxic together. I felt so sorry for JJ's grandparents yesterday. Yeah. Could you imagine if they had a baby and they called him Storm?
The storm is coming.
Well, you had Storm Field, the weatherman from Channel 4.
Yes, he was the son of Frank Field, also a weatherman. You're a weatherman and you name your kid Storm. Then he grows up to be a weatherman. It's perfect.
It's perfect. Yeah. Michelle L., they were both willing participants in the delusion to get what they wanted while convincing themselves they were justified. They used each other. I think that's a great analysis. They're in this delusion, but they're convincing each other. Like while playing this fantasy game, they do it so much that they seemingly convince and reaffirm one another that this is real when it's obviously not.
And Vin, I just had to answer a question that was asked of me. Yes, on occasion, I do watch Svengoolie if I'm home on the Saturday night.
Yes, me too.
And so does Jonesey. I know that Jonesey's a fan also.
Hey, Reggae Queenie, Lori was also on an episode of Wheel of Fortune.
Get out.
She was. And in her younger days, she had a little bit of a Vanna White kind of look going on. That was probably her hope. I'm going to go on here. I'm going to get discovered and I'll be famous. Because that's what she wanted. Lori was so much about the attention, being the center of attention, putting on a show. And I think what she found here through Chad is that Chad gave her that platform to be special. You are special because you're with me, and together we are the ones. We are the chosen ones here, Lori. You and I, and that gave her that feeling of power and adoration. Because once she and Chad became this connection, she was like leading the little groups, and she would tell them, "Oh yeah, I spoke with Chad. He told me this," and she would lead the little groups, and then they would cast spells on people who had turned dark. By the way, we have 2 trials now on Court TV where people are casting spells on people. It's unreal.
What's
we have
the
one
other
out of Chula Vista, California. Maya Miliete, also known as May Miliete, missing. Her husband, she was having an affair. The marriage was breaking up. They were high school sweethearts, but they had gone in different directions. And he was so upset, and he didn't want to lose her, that he would call up spellcasters. And one of the spells he wanted casted on her was not to have her get in an accident, her legs broken so she can't leave the house.
You can hire a spellcaster?
Yeah, they have them. I showed a advertisement that was faxed to my office of a person that had would do that.
This
person was not looking to do stuff that was evil. Okay,
right?
It was all stuff to help you find someone. They get someone to love you, or this, that, the other thing.
But they're soliciting you, a respected lawyer, to have a spell cast on somebody.
Well, here's the thing: an ethical spellcaster will not cast a negative spell, and that was one of the problems that Maya's husband was having, was that most of these spellcasters would not do that. He was trying to get them to do it, but most of them would not oblige because they were ethical spellcasters.
I knew a lady who claimed to practice voodoo. I don't know how serious she was, but she said that the voodoo thing is like you don't wish harm upon my rival. You don't wish that they break their legs or anything like that. You wish that they get a better job offer and move out of my area, and I never see them again. You wish goodness. You wish good upon them.
A bogey loved Dark Shadows.
Dark Shadows was great. All-time favorite of mine. I still watch it.
Let's see.
Yeah, Dark Shadows was a lot of fun.
Toro says Dark Shadows came on after school.
Yeah, everybody ran home from school to watch it because it would be on at 4:00, and in my area, you got out at 3:15. So you'd run home so you could watch Dark Shadows.
Was that on the same time as Magilla Gorilla?
Actually it was. Magilla Gorilla was on Channel 11 around the same time because they would show their cartoons and stuff like that, and the Three Stooges and Superman, and ABC Network, Channel 7 in New York, would show Dark Shadows at 4, a gothic supernatural soap opera, if you will.
But going on game show murderers. Okay, Rodney Alcala was on the dating game and actually won. And he in 78 he was on, and he had brutally murdered at least 4 women and served time for sexually assaulting an 8-year-old girl.
Good thing they have a chaperone when you go to
Mexico. Tone it down.
I'm sorry, but I'm just bringing up, this is just the facts, simply the facts. But I mean, this guy got on the dating game and actually won. Cheryl Bradford was on Wheel of Fortune.
Roxanne has told us that Donna Adelson from the
was on Wheel of Fortune.
Was on Wheel of Fortune.
What is it about Pat Sajak?
I'd like to buy a vowel.
She was the mother-in-law who's accused of hiring a hitman to take care of her son-in-law for a custody battle down in South Florida.
So Pat Sajak asks what she's going to do with her winnings, and she says, I'm going to hire an assassin.
And then put the rest on a gift certificate.
Yeah, exactly. And Rice-A-Roni, lifetime supply. But yeah, so there have been some wonderful dating game, dating game killer. Can't go wrong with that. Can't go wrong with that. Rodney Alcala. You can look that up.
Oh, we have more breaking news from Edie. Monica, Vinnie is so thorough and covers all the bases in an investigation. It's quite exhilarating watching him work. I'm thrilled to be part of his lives. So many things to consider, and more than one. He has opened my eyes.
Just closed mine.
Why did you close yours? Thank you, Edie.
Went like this. Okay, I took it. I went away. I had to. I'm visiting Lori Dallow and Ballo and the rest of the crew.
By the way, we're over 1,200. It's been a slow climb today, but we're getting close to the end, folks. So I made a mistake today. I wanted to do the weekly battle of the themes and theme songs for the show. And I had one picked out. Can I do it? Wait, let me see if I can do it.
Blue-eyed Italian magic.
Let me see if I can import it. 1 second. Where are we? I gotta find you guys. You guys still there? I lost this. I lost you.
Import this, you export that. It's good money in it.
It's good money. All right. Let me see if I can import this file. Let me see. 1 second. It may or may not work. No.
Well, Vinny, they're having you starting a cult.
What's that?
They have you starting a cult.
All right. So I messed up. For this week's Battle of the Bands, folks. We're not going to have the battle. But what we will do, do you guys remember the winner from last week?
I remember the loser. I couldn't get out of my head for 5 days.
I like the loser.
God. I was at the Neil Young concert, and I'm like singing that stupid song. I was
just singing the Brady Bunch.
All right, so
this weekend, folks, coming. No, next weekend. I'm sorry, coming up the Rolling Stones concert. I'll be at that.
Right.
So if you're there at MetLife, stop by and say hi.
Okay, here we go.
And I'll be appearing at the Hard Rock in Atlantic City.
Al, you were so great on Monday closing arguments.
Oh wow! Thank you.
And by the way, big ratings on Monday, big numbers on Monday.
I was watching
without tank takes, which was a very, very interesting to me because I did get some complaints that we didn't do tank takes.
Well,
which was my chance to shine.
Right.
I do enjoy
so
tank
takes.
takes.
Let's do this because I have to run. I got the big meeting coming up. But we are Vinnie and the Tangents, also known as the Tangent Podcast. You can watch me on my show every night, 8 o'clock, 8 to 10, live, unscripted, 2 hours of true crime. Only place on the dial where you can find it if you still have a TV that goes like this.
On the dial.
On the dial. Al, where can folks find you?
Monday night, 9 to 10 on Vinnie's show, on Court TV. And then, of course, at my law firm in Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey. And on X, formerly Twitter, at Legal Weapon 3.
Jonesy, where can people find the radio legend that you are?
I am up and down the dial. Best way to find me is to go to the website, glennjones.net. Glenn with one N, like mommy intended it to be.
All right. So as we say goodbye to you, folks, feel free to sing along. This was last week's winner, which will go unchallenged this week. But in future episodes, I promise I will have dueling themes as we narrow down what the theme song to this podcast will be. But here is the winner in the clubhouse right now, the reigning champion. Al, you can sing along if you want.
Vinnie and the Tangents, True Crime Podcast. Vinnie has the blue eyes, Al cracks the jokes. Jonesey stays behind his shades, entertaining all the folks. It's Vinnie and the Tangents, True Crime Podcast. Load up all your comments, hit those super chats. Let's go smash that like button, so we can all have a blast. Vinnie, Al, and Jonesy on the job. They're the Sugar Hill gang of true crime. They're telling stories of days gone by. They take crime and turn into a good old time.
The Sugar Hill
It's
gang.
Vinnie and the Tangents, True Crime Podcast. It's Vinnie, it's the Tangents.
That's like a little eraser feel to it. It's like a combination of eraser and Deep Mode.
It's the Tangents. It's the True Crime
Oh, wait a minute. They also have Deep Al mode.
True Crime Podcast.
There you go, folks. The reigning champion, which
I'm
will
not
be
happy with
challenged.
this.
Well, let me tell you, I think there's about 6 other versions that will challenge this, and we'll see how it goes. Well, you'll have to wait till the next podcast to hear it.
Yeah. Wow. That's the way to wreck in the audience like that. Just reel them right in.
We're rolling right
boy,
in.
Oh boy. What are you going to do all week thinking about what next song we're going to come up with?
All right. Well, that's it for this week. Again, thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to watch tonight at 8 o'clock. We'll see you next time on the Tangent Podcast, and I'll be live streaming as well. Say goodbye, Jonesy.
Goodbye, Jonesy.
It's Vinnie and the Tangents, True Crime Podcast. Vinnie has the blue eyes, Al cracks the jokes. Jonesy stays behind his shades, entertaining all the folks. It's Vinnie and the Tangents, True Crime Podcast. Load up all your comments, hit those super chats. Let's go smash that like button, so we can all have a blast. Vinnie, Al, and Jonesy on the job. They're the Sugar Hill gang of true crime. They're telling stories of days gone by. They take crime and turn into a good old time. It's Vinnie